First and foremost, guys, how incredible is it to be back in a room, to see people's faces, to be next to your neighbors, to be next to your friends. And it feels so ridiculous that that's something that we're applauding, right? We're applauding being able to communicate, to be next to one another. And that really should be such a marker for all of us in terms of just, oh, thank you. Hello. This is exactly what I wanted, thank you. I just like to move when I do a speech. It really should be such a marker for us that we're applauding that, and that we're celebrating that, and that we're saying thank you. Oh, it's so great. Now I can walk out of the door and I can see people. I don't have to have my face masked. And we're counting that as a win in this country, when in reality, the fact that we're even counting that as a win really tells you just how tragic circumstances are right now in America. And that can feel so super depressing, right? I have to say, when I got into politics, people say, oh, Candace, what's it like being in politics? It's trippy for me, because I absolutely hate politics, and somehow that's landed me smack in the middle of politics. I think the same can be said for Donald Trump, right? He hates politics. Yes, applaud him. Donald J. Trump. Right? We're supposed to be too ashamed to say his name, right? That was the whole thing that they were trying to say, use January 6th. You're not allowed to be a conservative, not allowed to be a Republican, you're not allowed to say that you proudly supported Donald J. Trump anymore. So let's cancel that whole thing that the left is doing and be proud to say that we supported one of the greatest presidents in modern times, who fought tooth and nail. People don't understand the impossible odds that he was up against. And I remember as I was traveling the country while he was president, speaking in so many rooms, I would really ask people, and they would say, oh, but you know, I wish he didn't do this so much, didn't tweet so much. I wish he didn't do this so much. You know, I wish he had a little bit more decorum. And I always say, do you realize that it was Donald Trump or socialism, right? You could deal with a mean tweet. Are you ready to deal with the socialist ambitions that the Democrat Party has for this country? He went in there like a complete bulldozer because we needed somebody to bulldoze Washington, D.C. And he woke up a lot of people in the process, including me. I'm going to pick this cord up so I don't fall on that. I always get the question, you know, how I got to where I am today. And a lot of you guys know that I started my career on YouTube, which seems a crazy place for someone to jump into politics. And the backstory to how I got into politics by accident is really because Donald Trump woke me up. And what I mean by that is that when he came down that escalator with Melania, I don't care who you were, you had a reaction. And I had a reaction like most of the country. I said, please, no, never let that man become the president of the United States, right? Like, that's the guy that says you're fired, right? That is the guy that is on the TV screen. He's a cultural figure. He would be an idiot if he was president. He has no experience. These were all of the things that I said when Donald J. Trump came down the escalator, which is fine because me and him are friends now, but that was what I thought back in 2015. And it's so interesting because it was because of that, because I had those thoughts that actually led to my awakening. Because while I didn't think that he had the experience to be the president of the United States, I was shocked that rather than saying he doesn't have political experience, the mainstream media took a man that was loved by all of the country for years and decades, culturally loved, and suddenly tried to convince me that he was a racist, a sexist, a homophobe, a bigot, a transphobe. They called him every name in the entire dictionary, a racist, a sexist. At even one point, you'll recall, they called him incestuous. Remember the whole thing when they were doing that sick story? Oh, he has feelings for his daughter, Ivanka. They would not stop. They would not quit. And what it did for me is I started going, wait a second, I don't want the guy to be president either, but it's a bit bizarre to think that this man for decades was loved and nobody realized that he was literally Hitler, right? There were no stories that came out, nobody was chasing him, there were no bad tales, everybody wanted to be like Trump. Especially if you're a black American in this country and you grew up listening to hip hop like me, all of the rappers, all the cultural figures would drop Donald Trump's name in their mixtapes. Everybody wanted to be like Trump. He was a symbol of status, he was a symbol of wealth. People loved him and adored him. Even Beyonce and Jay-Z have music where they would sing about sipping poolside at Mar-a-Lago. And then just like that overnight, the media wanted me to think, no, forget everything we've been saying for the last 2 decades. This man hates and hates and hates, and we need to make sure that he gets stomped out. And so for me, as somebody who was not interested in politics whatsoever, it made me ask myself, wow, is it possible that racism is now being used as a theme to turn black Americans into single-issue voters? Is it possible that the media is actually fake news? Is it possible that they're trying to divide the country based on race? And so I dug a little bit deeper, and I started asking myself more questions, and I started reading and listening and watching a bunch of websites and a bunch of people that just a few months prior I thought were Uncle Toms and coons. I look back at that and I laugh because obviously I am now called that name so many times. The karma of that is hilarious to me. And I remember, I'll never forget going on to websites as if I was like hiding it, as if I was on a dirty website. It was like checking out foxnews.com, just trying to see if maybe those Republicans weren't the racists that I knew that they were. And then I'll never forget the moment that I went to YouTube and I watched a clip of Larry Elder. And let me tell you, yes, that is a man who deserves a round of applause. If you are ever on the fence about your ideas, Larry Elder will smack you into an awakening really quickly. And I was floored, and I remain so empathetic to people that are starting to ask questions and are not really ready to take the step into realizing that everything they were told was a lie. Because when I went through it, I suffered through real cognitive dissonance.